Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salam ala Sayyidina wa Nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Thank you very much for the kind introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here with us today, where we discuss what is one of the most interesting emerging markets when it comes to Islamic finance, which is the Central Asian region. As many of us know, Islamic finance has grown tremendously. Islamic finance assets crossed $4.9 trillion at the end of 2023, projected to grow to $7.5 trillion. And it has become a truly global industry with over 1,980 Islamic financial institutions that operate in over 80 countries around the world and more than 57 countries that have Islamic finance regulations. But as the industry starts to mature in some of the more established and older Islamic finance markets, when we look ahead, we see that the growth is going to come from a number of emerging and frontier markets like Central Asia, with a strong local Muslim population, with developing economies, with expanding trade links, and with a developing financial sector. The Central Asian regions are very well positioned to develop a local Islamic finance industry that can serve their economic and social development agenda. Today, we see Islamic finance assets in the Eurasia region at approximately $500 million, and we see the landscape consisting of 10 Islamic banks or windows and another 18 non-banking institutions, which include takaful companies, financing and leasing companies, fintech institutions, digital institutions. And the other interesting thing is that all of the Muslim majority countries in the Eurasia region have either implemented Islamic finance regulations or are in the process of implementing Islamic finance regulations. To foster this growth, the Eurasia Development Bank, the leading regional development institution in Eurasia, has entered into a strategic partnership with Islamic Development Bank on the promotion and development of Islamic finance in the region. They have recently launched an Islamic banking window, and as part of the partnership, they are working on launching a research report that looks at the future of Islamic finance in the region, provides an assessment of the quantitative and qualitative considerations, and also provides policy recommendations and strategic direction for the industry going forward. So it's a very interesting area of discussion, and with that, I'm delighted to have this esteemed panel who can talk about the potential of Islamic finance in the region, what are some of the challenges, the opportunities, and how we achieve the growth that we want to. And for that, I would like to start with Your Excellency Nikolai. As representative of the leading regional development bank, it's great to see the steps that you've taken towards the development of Islamic finance, the launch of the Islamic banking window, the upcoming report, and so on. Can you please elaborate on your plans for the development of Islamic finance in Central Asia and the focus of facilitating, in particular, capital flows between the region and other Islamic finance markets like the GCC, Southeast Asia, and so on?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Mustafa, for opportunity to talk about future of Islamic finance in Central Asian region. It's a great pleasure and honor to speak here today. I would like to thank our partners for cooperation in moving these projects. First of all, Islamic Development Bank Institute, and London Stock Exchange Group. I would like to start with a few words about Eurasian Development Bank. Eurasian Development Bank is an 18 years old bank established in Kazakhstan in 2006. Since then, we executed almost 300 projects across the Eurasian region and Central Asia, with a total amount of investments of around $15 billion. And Eurasian Development Bank is a leader of non-sovereign financing in the region. And our main area of operations is Central Asia. Central Asia is a rapidly growing region, and its role in the world and in Eurasia should be reassessed. The population of Central Asia is growing rapidly. At least it keeps the pace of 2% growth rate of populations during the last 20 years. It is now 80 million people, and the aggregate GDP is around $458 billion as of end of 2023, and we expect it to approach $500 billion as soon as end of this year. The average pace of growth is 6.4% during last decades, which is far higher paces compared to developed world and other developing countries. And since 2000, the trade turnover increased 20 times, direct investments increased 17 times, and Central Asia grows rapidly, but the gap between developed countries and developing countries remain quite substantial, and we need to do anything to catch up. And what can be done? And I think that Islamic finance development is one of instruments which will help to shorten this gap. The Eurasian Development Bank intends to become a platform for Islamic finance in Central Asia. The bank is currently working on creating necessary institutional and administrative solutions. Right now, we are at the beginning of our Islamic finance journey. With the Islamic Development Bank Group's support, EDB has started to develop an Islamic window for financing projects in accordance with Sharia principles. The Sharia advisor of launching EDB's Islamic window is Dar Sharia, a subsidiary of Dubai Islamic Bank. And we have started to work on 2 pilot projects in transport and leasing sectors. The priority areas of investments will be energy, transport, social infrastructure, food security, and industry. Our plan is to develop banks' Islamic finance policy and procedures in 2024 and to launch full operational Islamic window as soon as mid-2025. We propose enhancing our cooperation with other stakeholders in development of Islamic finance in Central Asia. And according to our study, the market cap for Islamic finance could be as much as $2.5 billion by 2028, and it could reach as high as $6.3 billion as soon as 2033. And it is a substantial volume, and it will help for Central Asia to grow. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. And I think that, it's great to see the policy and Sharia infrastructure that has been put in place to help facilitate the development of the industry, and also, in particular, the projections that showcase so much potential for growth in the region. Your Excellency, Renat, I would like to come to you. Obviously, Astana International Financial Center was very proactive in Central Asia when it came to Islamic finance. A few years ago, you launched your Islamic finance strategy. You've always played a role in promoting the development of Islamic finance in the region. From your perspective, Kazakhstan, we also recognize, is obviously one of the largest countries and largest markets for Islamic finance potential in the region as well. How do you see Islamic finance developing in Kazakhstan in particular, but also what role do you see AIFC playing as a regional hub for the development of Islamic finance in the broader Central Asia region?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And thank you for inviting me here to speak. So first of all, AIFC, Astana International Financial Center, is a special economic zone. It's common law, something similar to ADGM, but in Kazakhstan. We opened doors in 2018 and now home for over 3,500 companies. In terms of Islamic finance, first, I think the trend is we'll see more sukuks. In 2012, I was part of the Development Bank of Kazakhstan team who actually did the first ever sukuk from CIS region, but it was structured in Malaysia, so it was in Malaysian ringgit. And just a few days ago, on 5th of September, 12 years after, we have listed first sukuks, Kazakhstani sukuks, on our exchange, Astana International Exchange, which is structured within AIFC. It's a small amount, only $20 million, but I think that's just only the start, because when a few years ago, 4 years actually, in 2020, when listed first green bond, it was only $2 million, and now the overall market is over $2 billion. And we've seen some issues over $200 million actually from same Kazakhstan Development Bank. So I think this market is going to go hugely. Second is, of course, retail. As His Excellency mentioned, there is a huge population who are practicing Muslims, and I feel like they are unbanked. They don't have access to simple instruments like deposits and then the mortgages. So that market is definitely going to grow. We have done our survey, Islamic finance survey. Even within our population, we see that the demand for deposits can be potentially $6 billion US. Third, I think we will see more institutions, international institutions, and especially from the region to come to Kazakhstan. Already, Abu Dhabi Commercial Bank has a subsidiary in Kazakhstan as part of when they acquired Al Hilal in 2021. So they're going to revise the strategy, and hopefully some emphasis will be given to Islamic finance. And some of you may know this year, Lisha Bank from Qatar also closed the transaction, and now they have subsidiary Bereke Bank in Kazakhstan as well. So there is huge potential again on this side. I have met with the CEOs and headquarters of these banks and proposed them to develop the Islamic finance and within the AFC. So that's my 3 points on how this is going to develop. What AFC does is, first of all, of course, the regulatory framework, creating the market. And as you said, there are a number of institutions who do takaful and etc. They all register in AFC and are licensed by AFC, which is the ground where they can start their doing business in the whole region. We will be improving. We work with the Islamic Development Bank, with actually Amani advisors, to improve our regulatory framework. Second, of course, capacity building. Again, we've done a number of researches on the potential of the market, and we'll be keep on doing it and raising the level of knowledge about the potential in the market and marketing whole region for the institutions who provide this kind of services. And third is the regional cooperation. We're ready to share our knowledge and actually help to build the capacities for our neighbors. As we have done again with green and sustainable finance, we have helped to develop same frameworks and approve the taxonomies for green projects in Kyrgyzstan, in Uzbekistan, in Azerbaijan. With that help, this year, for example, Azerbaijani bank issued first ever green bond in Azerbaijan. So we're going to follow that path and use that model for Islamic finance.
No, that is a fantastic answer. I think you correctly touched upon all the key points, the role of capital markets in Sukuk and the potential for growth there. The retail example, we have seen in many markets, Islamic finance become an instrument for financial inclusion for many consumers. And I think that, most importantly, the fact that international institutions from the GCC are, taking a presence in Kazakhstan, taking a presence of institutions, there is a practical validation of what we say in the theoretic side for the potential of Islamic finance in the region that they want to be involved and be a part of.
Indeed.
Dr. Hillman, I want to come to you. And, His Excellency Renat ended by talking about the importance of, thought leadership and reports to create awareness and understanding of the potential. And one of the strategic outcomes of the partnership between Islamic Development Bank and Eurasia Development Bank is this upcoming report on the potential of Islamic finance in the Central Asian region. I know the report is intended to be launched soon, but could you share some insights that have come out of that report for the benefit of the audience, please?
Thank you, Brother Mustafa. Very good morning, everyone. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh. And I think, first of all, I would like to acknowledge the presence of the chairman of the EDB Management Board, Mr. Nikolai. This is the second time we are meeting in 2 weeks consecutively. What a pleasure. It's just the icing on the cake. Right, a second, Mr. Rinat, and welcome to Abu Dhabi, although I'm not really from Abu Dhabi, and Ms. Maya. Right, the research that has been going on for quite some time now, to me and our team at the Islamic Development Bank Institute, we have been feeling that this is the moment of discovery. Because as you all know, the Central Asia region inherits a great civilization, a great tradition and history. And now we are getting into, you can say, trying to discover and unleash the untapped potential within that region. And this is obviously part and parcel of the greater collaborative work, as mentioned by the chairman, Mr. Nikolai, earlier. There is a plan to create an Islamic window within IDB, and so that it can eventually spill over the other stakeholders within the regions to be part and parcel of the Islamic finance or Islamic economy ecosystem within that part of spatial region. And we did some qualitative and quantitative projection, and I'm sure as part of and it has been highlighted by Mr. Nikolai as well, that by 2033 we are expecting to witness nearly 6.5 billion asset in terms of Islamic banking, not to mention the great potential of Sukuk. But at the same time, we're also very mindful that the peculiarities of the region is something that we have been taking into account, because obviously if we try to create a mapping or overview of different regions, we talk about Central Asia, Southeast Asia, Indian subcontinents, the Maghribi, as well as the European countries, those things will be giving us a set of menus, so to speak, with all the strengths and weaknesses. And let's be mindful that it's just a matter of time that we will be seeing a great, the sleeping giant, so to speak, will be, awakening. And in that respect, I would like to summarize our overview in 3 words. ISDB, of course, I'm here not to talk about the Islamic Development Bank being the AAA rated MDB or Islamic MDB. I would like to see our impression about Central Asia Islamic finance going forward into 3 letters. And this happens to be AAA as well, okay? The first A is aptitude, i.e. the talent, the great, immense potential that the region possesses is great, and it cannot be taken lightly. The second one is the attitude, right? What we have been seeing and what we have been feeling so far with the colleagues and the counterparts within this part of the world is amazing. They are welcoming, they are open to new ideas despite certain challenges. And the third one, by looking into the future, we will not be surprised if they will be reaching the new altitude. People have been saying so far that the Middle East, perhaps to some extent, Southeast Asia, Malaysia being one of the powerhouses in Islamic finance, and then Indonesia coming forward as well. Nowadays, they are the so-called darling of the Islamic finance industry. So in the future, going forward, interconnecting with the old tradition, rich tradition, and heritage, if the Central Asia region becoming the new giant and they are reaching the new altitude, so we have to be celebrating this moment altogether. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Hillman. And aptitude, attitude, and altitude, a very nice way to showcase the talent, the outlook, and the ambition for the region. Sister Maya, I want to bring you into the conversation. And, it's always the case that everybody is very optimistic about Islamic finance. People are on board, they talk about the potential, but then the real challenges come in the implementation. And one of the biggest challenges is always the Sharia considerations, putting in place the right framework, getting things approved, having appropriate legislation, regulation to align with the Sharia standards and the requirements of Sharia contracts, right? As a representative of a leading Sharia advisor that operates in the Central Asia region, what do you see as some of the key challenges and opportunities for Islamic finance in the market? And more importantly, what should governments and other leading institutions be doing to help enable and facilitate the Islamic finance ecosystem?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum, everyone. Thank you, Mustafa. I think before I go to the challenges, you've heard about the statistics in terms of the opportunities that are available in terms of economic growth and the size of population in the CIS countries. And my esteemed panelists have also mentioned about, the intended growth. I would say it's an intended growth of Islamic finance. And actually, as Sharia advisor, where I cover the full spectrum of Islamic finance in the middle of supply and demand, this is actually the tipping point for Islamic finance. The growth requires new market, and we look at CIS as a new world market, right? And between the GCC and CIS, it doesn't only represent, a bridge between the East and the West, but it's also a bridge between opportunity and action. And there is the shared roots in relation to Sharia with the large number of Muslim population in the CIS countries. So there is that strategic alignment between the GCC with the capital and the CIS countries with the opportunities and real economic activity, because that is the crux of Islamic finance. We need we look into, and we are attached to real economic activity, and this will create new capital. I think this is the idea that we need to look at. In terms of framework, I think there are a lot of reforms, there's a lot of amendments being done in the CIS countries, especially I think led by AIFC as a more structured, infrastructure over there. Why I think this is important is because now, as I mentioned, this is a dynamic time and almost a golden age for Islamic finance, where you have solutions in the market already. So we are not starting from scratch. There's harmonization in terms of standards, in terms of principles. There are many diversity in terms of products. We need to match that. And alhamdulillah, Sharia is very rich. We can find the solution. Some solutions we have not found yet, but that's not about Sharia. That's about the awareness and the expertise. So I think in terms of challenges, there will be challenges. I can name, in terms of awareness, expertise, conducive ecosystem, but it's getting there. But we have to wait. We don't have to wait until the situation is ideal, right? Because Islamic finance is not about banking, just about banking. It's not just about sukuk. So we look at the opportunities in that country and work backwards. Private equity, VC, notes, basically whatever that can work within the existing ecosystem and the existing legal tax framework, while it is being reformed to be more conducive. So we can work backwards and find those solutions. So the principles are there, the contracts are there, the standards are there. Secondly, I think is awareness. The awareness is, firstly, we have to take into consideration that the solutions, the product structures, etc., outside CIS may not work the same in the CIS countries, because there are nuances and there are other local considerations, domestic considerations that we need to take into consideration. So certain customizations need to be put in place. So I think it's very important for the CIS countries, in addition to attracting capital from outside, to also build the domestic market in terms of Islamic finance. So that can go in parallel. I spoke at the Astana Finance Days forum recently. So I was proposing the idea of having a center of excellence in the CIS countries to actually look at the different pillars, different streams to make up the whole Islamic economy within the story of CIS countries, the story of Eurasia. And I think that would give a better perspective of what can be prioritized now before the ecosystem is ideal. Thank you.
I think that is fantastic. And as you mentioned, obviously, there are always local considerations, things that need to be customized. But my key takeaway from that, and I want to end on that, is that there is a lot of experience and expertise in different markets. The Central Asian regions can learn from that. They don't have to start from scratch, so that they can take advantage of what is already there and accelerate the achievement of the potential for the industry in Central Asia. With that, I would like to take this opportunity to please to end the session, and please join me in thanking my fellow panelists for an excellent session. Thank you.